Here is my week 7 podcast, looking at creating multimedia content with reflection to my final project. Well, my final project is actually here. I've created a February start in Minerva, and this is a small cohort of international learners where the focus will be to support them via more blended means, as well as some face-to-face lectures and seminars. We'll be using multimedia material and some Web 2 practices to support these students through a 11-week block. So I've started to populate my final project here with the module handbook. I've looked at the aims and objectives and made sure these are clear. Started to add my schedule, and the new bit, the new part, which I'm quite interested in to get some feedback on and maybe some guidance of our supervisors, is the blended zone I've come up with. Now, after reading this week's reading from Zhang and Nunamaker, Zhang mentions an area where he discusses about the more control that learners have over the learning material and the content which is consumed, the greater the chance of them achieving and reaching a satisfied state of learning. This is quite a pertinent point when I think designing the material. I've created various podcasts in the past. I'm trying to reuse one. There's one here for how to use Google Hangouts, which will be a synchronous tool used within this module. And I've created a sharing resources wiki, which would also be used in the module. But I really want the learners to engage with this and be directed to this when we're in our traditional teaching environments. I will post this voice presentation, which is probably my focus of today's podcast. I've made a quick voiceover presentation to be used, as we can see, integrated into one of the seminars to support an activity and a concept we're introducing of Henry Mintzberg's 5 P's for strategy. Reflecting on the Zhang and Nunamaker video for this week, I've added the presentation in a PPTX format, in a Keynote format. There's a voice presentation in a .m4v format, and there's a PDF of the original theoretical concept by Mintzberg. And you can see these other contents I'm circling now on the bottom of the screen. I will post this video underneath this podcast.
Hello. Welcome to Business Strategy. This is Rob, and this is going to be
So, I'll just turn down the volume of this bloke speaking on this voice presentation here for a moment while I go over the top.
brief introduction.
I've tried to keep
for academics.
the text sans serif font and scalable, so there's not too much text on each of the slides. Ideally, this will be scalable to mobiles and smartphones, so they can log in, they can use the app. The Blackboard app on the iPad is very simple to use, and when you click on a piece of media such as this, it scales up to the whole screen. So that was the idea for dyslexic friendly learners, to do block colors with sans serif font, so these are easily legible. I have not put dates or assignments into this version of this presentation. I've tried to keep the images clear and simple, so hopefully this will have an element of reusability for as long as this concept is usable, which I'd imagine for quite a few years. So I've tried to look at what other good practices were with creating these voice presentations, and link in my plan. So I've got my learning outcomes in there. I've defined my learners. I've looked at my resource types. Haven't measured the progress yet. I've chosen some content. This presentation I've just showed you here has a learning activity, which then they will have to post here in a forum response. So the bit I'm circling now is a forum response where they consume the activity and then they consume the content and then they join the activity. This is obviously asynchronous content. We're on Blackboard. I haven't done a learner review yet. I've done some testing of it on my wife's PC as well as on a Mac, and it runs fine. I've got my course schedule. So sort of my analysis, design, development and implementation are moving forward. I'm relatively happy with it. After a little bit more evaluation and some testing would be good. And then we have to do this little part in another couple of weeks. So, okay, hopefully that's explained some of the multimedia and some of the content I will be using in my final project, which you can see, and hopefully I've explained the links into my plan with its impact on to the final project as requested for this week. Okay, cheers.